story that I wanted to tell, but I just couldn't find time was, we talk about the way people knew us, but we never got a chance to talk about maybe the inappropriate. It was funny, so I'm not gonna pretend like I'm the victim. But maybe today, fast forward, is probably inappropriate.
Yeah.
What about the rush hour, man? Like we got rush hour a lot professionally
we
and personally because we hung
we
out
we
at
did,
work and
man.
outside. What about that? I just saw that. I think they're starting. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I saw Chris and Jackie are working on 4 or 5, whatever number they're on. So,
Yeah.
Chris, Jackie, if y'all need like somebody to play the younger version of you all, maybe like an origin story, I'll let you boys. We could branch off, LL. We could be movie star extras.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh my
Coming
god, that's
soon.
hilarious.
Appreciate the journey. Uh, Starring as Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker's body doubles. No, that used to be something consistent. I knew we would get it. Anytime someone you could see
Oh,
the
for
wheels
sure.
turning, they're looking at us. I'm like, here comes the rush hour jokes.
Yep.
All good
Uh,
though. Hilarious.
anytime we walked in the room, man, that's what it was. I felt it, and yeah, inappropriate nowadays, but I don't know. Having
I
lived it, I
laughed.
thought it was kind of funny.
I laughed. Yeah, absolutely. It never came from it. The context was never negative or to tear us down. So I think
Yeah,
there's a difference. It
exactly.
was it
Yep.
was always in the context of just like you two are walking besties, and yeah, little do they know I didn't like you that much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, whoever can hear the sound of our voice. We want to welcome you and thank you for joining us on the inaugural Appreciate the Journey podcast, the first of many. I am one of your hosts, Joe Drew, but I don't come alone. I come here with my partner in time, my man LL. Say what's up to the people, LL.
What's going on, everyone? Joe, really happy to be here with you, brother.
Oh man, it's my absolute pleasure. I couldn't think of a better person to start down this journey with than you, and we're gonna tell the people why. So I'm really excited. Let's just get the thing going. Well, first off, how about that opening? That 30 seconds opening shows that we're a little more technologically savvy than maybe we gave ourselves credit for. What you think?
I agree, man. Like, I'm an HR guy, right? We're both HR type people, and
Right.
technology is not really my strong suit, but yeah, that's looking good, I think.
Here we go. Here we go. So if you know how to make it better, hit us up. We're always welcome, open for feedback, but we'll talk more about that. Let's talk about what we have going here, LL, and really set the stage for any of our listening audience as they're tapping into this platform that we're trying to create. So, as I introduce, we have titled this podcast Appreciate the Journey. And we want to get some context on that, but just so that people know, hello, this is not just a podcast. This is more of a wraparound type of opportunity that we are collaborating on. So, before we get into the context of the name, let's set the stage for what people should expect from ATJ.
Yeah, man. So, ATJ, again, appreciate the journey. We are here because, we have this really unique set of experiences. And part of the reason why we enjoy what we do is the fact that we like helping our colleagues succeed. So, part of what we want to do is not only give people hints, ideas, tips, tricks, whatever you want to call them to help advance their career. But we also want to, put ourselves out there because we've decided to go down this journey together and create a career coaching service. So
Right.
along with this podcast, we're going to have this ATJ career coaching service. So whatever your needs may be, whether you're newer to the workforce, looking for your next promotion, we're here to help. So
Absolutely.
that's just a quick rundown of what we're trying to do here.
No, and we're going to dive deeper into that because I think it's really important for us to set the stage for our audience for the podcast, but for potential clients who may be out there during this very crazy time in people's career and looking for some support. We want to make sure you know when to come to us and what we're here for. But let's take a couple steps back, because I teed it up by saying there's a meaning behind the title of our company, of our podcast. So ATJ is the acronym for Appreciate the Journey, but Appreciate the Journey is something that's special. And it's something that, frankly, has been on my heart for some years. And when I shared it with LL, he immediately connected to it as well. So Appreciate the Journey is this setting the stage for people to understand. For me, in my lifetime, it's never been about the in line, right? It's never been about the final destination. It's always been about the journey and showing love and appreciation for all the moments that I've been able to experience throughout the journey. Moments being the opportunities at work, but even more importantly for me, the people that I've found and that I've connected to and that I've had lasting relationships with. So that's why it was so important for me to connect that name that's been on my heart for years to this journey that we're on together. What's your perspective when you heard me present you with this idea to name our company and our podcast?
I think you're absolutely correct here. We've known each other for quite some time, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But part of appreciating the journey is taking a step back, and it's something that I wasn't necessarily great at different parts of my career, but taking a step back and really enjoying it. You mentioned it earlier that a lot of people think about kind of the end goal, whatever it is that you want to get to, but having that appreciation for the time that you're in, the present, that's something really important. And having the different people that have crossed paths with you, and really showing them the appreciation, because now that I look back, there's so many people that have played such instrumental roles in my career. And, I just think it's a really great opportunity for us to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we'll probably say a lot as we get individual clients who connect with us from a coaching service standpoint, part of appreciating the journey is how you frame your experiences as well. So I think that's going to be extremely important for us to make sure, whether it's client who we're helping to meet their next career goal or someone who comes on this platform as an interview, we want to make sure we highlight for everyone the experiences they've had and frame it in a way that shows how it's beneficial to wherever the journey is going to take them. So, I'm over the moon excited about this opportunity, and the many conversations that we'll have, not just with you and I, but with people from our journeys and people who we've connected with. So let's take a moment and share a little bit about what we're thinking when it comes to this platform, the podcast. So you talked about the career coaching, and we'll dive deeper into some of the specific services. But when it comes to the podcast itself, what's the vision for who our audience should expect to hear? And kind of what's the feel and the flow from your own perspective, and I'll share anything I think as well.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to have a lot of different perspectives. Diversity of perspective is incredibly important. So,
Huge.
Not just between you and I, because we have kind of similar but divergent paths. So when
Yeah.
it comes to guests, we really want to bring on a lot of different variety of people. So people that, and variety, diversity really means a little bit of everything, not just types of roles, but industries, because you can work the same role in a different industry and it's a completely different animal. So diversity of people, industries, job specific and roles, and pick their brains about what it is that made them special and what it is that helped them succeed, and what it is about their background, and same type of things that you and I are going to talk about today, like who really helped them along the way, and how do you
Right.
find that mentor, how do you find that coach,
Wow.
and what it is that helped them get to where they are.
Wow. I couldn't have said it better, Ella. Well, I probably could have, but we're gonna
You,
let you
you definitely
shine.
could have.
You said it. You said it perfect. No. But the only other part that I'll add is it initially. just to start off. And I don't know that this will continue on in perpetuity. I imagine we're going to have a lot of shows. This is just 101, right? 101 of many. But initially, our goal is to bring on people who aren't strangers. So you, I, or both of us have met these people in actuality at one point throughout our journey. I think that's a very unique approach that shows the diversity of your network and how powerful it can be. So instead of us soliciting strangers to come on a platform, which eventually may have to happen, for the time being, we're going to hit up people who we already know. So this is not
Oh,
going
of
to be an
course.
introduction. This is going to be a celebration of our journeys together and how they've crossed. And we're going to tell some of these very unique stories of how we've connected to some of these people, either separately or together, which is really cool that so much of our connectivity is both of us. And we'll tell some stories about that. But let's get one more line of business together before we get into some more understanding why we're here together. Um, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about more specifically on the coaching, right? In all transparency, anybody who knows us probably could figure this out. The podcast part was probably I was doing a little more heavy lifting and trying to bring this into actuality, and the coaching was something that LL was really doing the heavy lifting, and it just so happened that we were able to connect the ideas and create one platform. So from the coaching side, because that is the flagship business part of ATJ, talk me through what a person should expect. What services can they come to us for? Just give me a quick rundown. And of course, we'll build on this as we go throughout all the different episodes. But let's set the stage now, LL.
Yeah. So what's important for everyone to know when it comes to career coaching is really understanding that this is completely customized and tailored to the individual. So,
Yeah,
Joe, if you were one of my clients, you're going to have a very different experience than somebody else, and part of that is very much dependent on where you are in your career, what you're looking for, what your personal goals are, and what it is that what your expectations are. So it's
yeah,
not going to be a cookie cutter. Everyone's going to go through the same things together. Everyone's going to talk about the same types of issues. Now, there are a lot of there are areas where there will be overlap. Like, we'll talk about your resume, your LinkedIn profile. We'll have mock interviews and interview tips and tricks. But again, that's all going to be tailored to the individual. Um,
mm,
we're not going to be cookie cutter and just, I guess, assign the same set of work for everyone.
yeah, absolutely. Being that both of us are on these health journeys, working out, I don't want to even say cookie. So definitely not cookie cutter because I'm staying away from cookies all 2023 so that I can get my Beachbody 2025 together. So I'm two
Good for
years
you.
away. I'm gonna knock it out, buddy. So no, thank you, LL, for laying that out there. And I think as any other business will evolve, we will kind of find ways to improve. We'll find ways that maybe we should offer this differently. So it's going to be a journey for appreciate the journey, and that's something that anybody who decides to work with us, we're going to be very transparent in how we're going to operate, and we're going to solicit you for your feedback because we believe that that will help us meet people where they are even more effectively and efficiently. And then one more part there. This is obviously I'm proud of this. A very small offering, but one of the offerings. I leaned on my man LL to help think through the majority of the offerings when it came to coaching, as I'm getting myself more and more understanding of how to use my transferable skills to be effective in that world. But my idea was, hey, what if we offer short podcast interviews, recorded interviews for our clients so they can use that to send it to potential employers or put it out in the social media atmosphere and see if someone sees that and maybe hears a response to a question that they wouldn't have even thought to ask that could help them navigate their path. So that's something that you're going to be able to tap into. We're really excited about that offering, as one of the many things that we're going to be here for anyone in your journey. But I think there is a specific group of people, LL, who would probably look to our skill sets and look to our approach a little more. Who do you think is that target, that maybe would say those guys really got what I need?
I think anybody that has strong communication skills or looking for roles that require strong communication skills, because we see it on LinkedIn every day, like people that post stuff like, oh, I was part of layoff at company XYZ today and I'm looking for a new
Yeah,
job. So you read three or four of those and they all read the same, right? And so
absolutely.
scrolling through your feed, you're constantly reading the same thing about being laid off. So why not put something a little bit different out there, right? So
Yeah.
if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're in hell, even recruiting, where you have to be a great communicator, this could be a good viable option for you.
Absolutely. And then I think even broader, and forgive the question, the question definitely drew you towards the specific podcast, interview, but I'm even saying even broader. Is there where would I be in my life to say, I think ATJ could help me. Or I may want to click on this nice website that they built to be able to connect with them. What would you say that person? How would you define that person?
Anyone that's really looking for some guidance.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think we're targeting a just new hires, or people fresh out of school, or people mid-level careers, or executives. We have this unique set of background and experiences where we've worked with people across the entire spectrum. Um,
Mhm.
so whatever it is that you're looking for, and we'll be honest. I mean, there might be certain industries where we might say like, hey, listen, that's not really our forte. So there might be some other people that are better out there suited for you. But for the most part, I mean, we have that capability and experience.
Absolutely. Oh, I can't wait, man. I'm excited. I'm excited about expanding our network as we're helping support these people on their journey. And I'm excited about taking all these skills that you and I have both been afforded in these different roles that we're about to talk about, and be able to give and pay it forward, right? And give it to others. I'm a firm believer, and I know this to be facts for you because I've experienced it. What I know, right? It's like I'm not afraid to share the knowledge. What am I taking it to? Where am I hoarding it for? Right. And I know that to be the case with you because I've experienced it firsthand. So I couldn't, again, I'd say this probably 10 times. We'll probably do a count of how many times I'd say how excited I am. I think I'm at 6, but I've already lost count, LL. Let's take a couple steps forward, maybe one more step backwards. I don't know where we are on the whole journey thing, but we have not officially introduced ourselves, right? So we just jumped in. I'm Joe Drew. That's LL. There are a fragment of people who are watching who know, a little bit about us. But let's take the formality and really take a moment to introduce ourselves so that you understand who you're dealing with. Who are you hearing from? Who are you going to tune in to listen to, or who you're going to connect with to gain some coaching support? So I want to play this game with you, LL. It's an
Okay.
activity that I've used throughout my career. It's one of my favorite activities, and it's something that I want to use with anybody who comes on. So aside from just reading off your LinkedIn profile and saying your resume, that's not really introducing you, right? So I want to dive into a little more personal, quote unquote. This particular activity, it's a diversity activity called My Fullest Name. So, excuse me, what we'll ask any of our attendees or interviewees to do is share a little bit about yourself in the form of My Fullest Name. So that means um, what's the definition of your name? What's the meaning behind your name? Is there any cultural context to your name? Any funny stories or anecdotes that surround your name, whether it's your first name or your surname? Do you have a nickname? If so, what's the story behind your nickname? So not all those questions. Take one or two of your favorites, but give us a little bit about, is LL even your real name? I don't know. The floor is yours, sir.
All right. So my full name is Leland Chen. I was actually born in Taiwan, so that's where my name comes from. LL has been something that has stuck with me almost my entire career. I can't tell you exactly when it started, but I know for a fact it was at a point where I got sick of seeing Lillian or Lynn or some other random name in emails, messages, thanks to autocorrect. So at one point, I shortened it to LL, and it's kind of stuck around for quite some time. So
That's
that's
awesome.
me, Joseph, Joe Drew. What is your name? Tell me about your name.
Well, yeah. First off, you already went with my government. So Joseph is my government name. But I do go by Joe. My last name is Drew hyphen Hundley. So here's a cool first connection of many. We're both team hyphen. You got a hyphen in your first name. I got a hyphen in my last name. We both firm believers that it's not a dash. So don't tell us a dash. There's a dash in a phone number, not in names. All right, but I'm not salty about that. So Joe Drew hyphen Hundley is my name. Where I'll take my fullest name is around my last name. So I often get questions about my last name. There's probably not many American born men with hyphenated last names, and that was my name on my birth certificate. So my birth mother and my father, when my birth mother was pregnant with me, turns out that she had leukemia. Um, and there wasn't much expectation that she would live much longer. You think early 80s, the treatments just weren't there, especially for an aggressive form of cancer that she had. I was born healthy, and that's something that I always have appreciation for. The fact that my birth mother had the strength to carry and deliver me healthy while she was fighting such an aggressive disease. Her and my father weren't married, and knowing that she was didn't have much time left on this earth, they did decide to give me both last names in her honor. So Drew was my birth mother's last name, Corinne Drew. My father's Joe Hunley, and so that's where I got Drew Hunley. The way the story evolves for me though, LL, and oftentimes when I share that story, I get some, oh, that's sad. Obviously I'm a person who lost their birth mother, 40 years ago. Where that story really turns for me and really becomes a story of just it really has influenced my life is because my father did marry when I was 3 years old to my mother, the woman who adopted me, legally and raised me as her own. And so what I began to learn and understand was unconditional love, seeing the way that the closest people in my family connected with me. None of them are my blood relatives, right? So my closest grandmother growing up, before she passed, my closest cousins and aunts, and all of that were not of blood. They were all on my quote unquote stepmother side, but that was never observed in our family. My brothers, two younger brothers, are both half brothers. That was never observed in my family. So it's something I take a lot of pride in. And it's something that, my family has all adopted. So my wife and my two kids are all Drew Hunleys. Believe it or not, Google said we're the only Drew Hunleys in the world. And I don't know about you, but if Google said it got to be fact.
It's got to be true. And I
Yes,
love that story, man, because that's, I've met several members of your family, and it's 100% true. The love that you see there, the appreciation is all there. So, man,
absolutely.
that's such a great story.
No, thank you. Yeah, and what we'll do is as we continue to hear from people who we interview, if there's other things that make sense to share, we'll continue to share a little more, so you all can learn a little more about us. Um, to LL, I do have to say my nickname for you is LL Cool Chin. Obviously I've taken that from Cool J. I think you're cooler than Cool J, but it's neither here nor
Love
there.
it.
LL Cool Chin is where I go, but you all can't call him that. You got to stick with LL. You have to earn the cool chin part through a lot of time together. And that sets the stage for the next part of this conversation. How did this form, or how did this come to be? Right. Um, you and I have connected on a variety of stops in our journey. What we want to do is set the stage and tell the people, how did this co-worker turned friendship start? What were some of those connection points? Because you are an extremely influential and important part of my journey, and so I want to make sure that the people understand this wasn't just two guys who were bored saying, hey, let's do something together. Like, there's some history here, right? So I'm gonna give you the first pass. I'm gonna fill in the blanks. But tell the story. How what's your first memory of your boy Joe Drew?
My first memory of my boy Joe Drew. All right, so I mean that this took place, what, 17 years ago now, a really long time ago. So
Wow,
um,
old.
You and I actually worked together at
Hmm.
a financial services firm. We were both on the phones. I think you started there a year before me,
You're
but
elder, so I'm your elder. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, you're definitely my elder. And what I remember is you sat in the team right next to mine, and you were what they called the resource for that team. So whatever questions people might have, they would go to you, and you also work the For Help helpline. So if a resource wasn't available, you can call this helpline, and I would get this nice deep voice. Thank you for calling For Help. This is Joe. How may I help you? Right.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that was my first professional interaction with you. You and I, again, we worked together for a little bit. Um, both kind of moved on from that entry level phone role and was able to I guess move into different parts of the business. And at one point, you and I kind of got partnered together to work on some projects, and we just developed this really great relationship.
Yeah.
Fast forward, another 10 years or so, I was working for another organization. I needed somebody to join the team with a very specific skill set. And of course, first person that popped in my mind was, hey, I got to call Joe. I was living in Michigan at the time. I knew he was from Michigan. So I was like, relocating with a family might be tough, but this may be the only opportunity I can get him is to make him come home. Right. So
Yeah.
gave you a call. Flew you up to Detroit, gave you the tour, gave you the interview, and a couple weeks later, you were on your way.
Yeah. No, and that it it definitely is it's surreal to kind of sit back and reflect on it because what you talk about fast forward 10 years, there wasn't a lot of connection between our first stop and where we reconnected. Like there was, maybe a text every blue moon, social media. I think I called you to try to help my brother get a job once. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't that we were talking every day. But what it was is that in our journey, when we were connected, it was a very strong, authentic connection that could stand the test of time, even if there wasn't a constant conversation, right? And
Yep.
so let's go. Let me go back. I had to add a couple things because
Yeah. Please do.
you meant in our first stop together. This was both of our first job. Well, my first job out of college. I don't think it was your first job out of college. It was your second job out of college, right?
It was my first. It was my
It was your
first.
first. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm making you older than you are. So both of our first jobs out of college. But as the elder statesman, I was there a year old earlier. I had to kind of lay the framework for LL to get there. Um, we when we got that chance to work together, um, there was like it was combustible, right? So the people saw us, and you would have thought that we were partners for years. The way that it just our strengths immediately connected. Our opportunity areas were picked up by the other one's strengths, and we started walking around that place like a dynamic duo, like Jordan Pippen, or as we were called, Batman and Robin. We
Yep.
have to save this for another show because we can't eat up our time. But there's still ongoing kind of confusion of who was Batman and who was Robin. Um, I think you always have a good answer for that. If you could quickly give it to me, who was Batman, who was Robin?
It depended on what we were doing. Again,
There you
we
go.
played off of each other's strengths and weaknesses so well that there were times where I was definitely Batman and you were Robin, and vice versa.
Man, Bruce Wayne got a lot to learn from us. He's never let Robin lead, but you took about this relationship, this duo. We were able to meet people where meet the situation where it was, and that's
Yep.
what who would step forward. So that's always one of the cool things about our relationship. And then when you fast forward it, when you called me about the opportunity, to it was a complete shift, not just in jobs in states in industries. So I think that's important is the trust that you had that I would be able to be versatile enough to step into a whole nother industry that I had no exposure to in a position that I've never done spoke volumes to the relationship. I was over the moon humbled that you would trust me in that situation. Therefore, there's no way I was not going to show up as the best version of myself because this is my man LL. He helped me with this opportunity. Obviously, I had to earn it, but I would have never got the call if it wasn't, for you thinking about my skill set. So That's something that I'll always be appreciative of and thankful for is what you did in that moment.
So glad to hear that, man. I mean, that
Yeah.
means a lot. But part of it is just knowing good people, knowing what their strengths and weaknesses are. And I had a very specific thing that I was looking for the
Hmm.
team, and you definitely fit the bill. And again, it wasn't just my decision, right? Like you came
Right.
in for an
Right.
interview, and it was an all-day interview with
Jeez.
10, 12 people total, probably. I mean,
I
the
had never seen
entire
anything
team
like
plus a couple of random people, right? So,
it.
I mean, it was a full day packed interview, and everyone thought you were the best person for the role. So, I just
Wow.
opened the door, and you got yourself through it.
Absolutely, man. And we're going to talk a lot about those experiences as we build on this journey. There's been some big rocks and some small pebbles that we've been able to pick up during those times, whether it's our first jobs together or the last job that we worked together and anything in between. There's a lot that we are able to pick up on that. So I can't wait to continue to dive more into those experiences and share some of what we learned. But I just got to say, how cool was it that at one point was your peer and your partner. At one point, I've reported to you. At one point, you depended on me. It's like the full life cycle of what a coworkership turned friendship could be,
Mhm.
and I think there's a lot to learn from it. When I imagine you would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I love, and I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but one of the things I truly love about this is um, there's no ego.
Oh
The
yeah,
fact that you and I were coworkers, you and I partnered on projects together, and then 10 years later, I called you to report directly to me. I mean, there's no ego there,
yeah,
and you took it. You were awesome with it, and there was never a point where I felt like I don't know you were threatened or
right.
any issues. So truly love that.
Absolutely. That's a testament to you as well. But yeah, you're right. I never felt that way. And I know that could be tricky, right? And so I think we have to hold ourselves accountable to having maybe an episode dedicated to that experience, as our goal here with the Appreciate the Journey podcast is to, talk about topics that we may expect in our professional lives. Like, have you ever reported to your friend, right? Like, we got to make
Mhm.
sure that we have that conversation. I think I have the perfect guest for that when it happens, as I have experience where one of my friends reported to me, and he has a really cool story about that. So, we'll put that in the parking lot for a future conversation. So we only have a few minutes left. We want to be very efficient with our listeners' time. We never want our episodes to drag on too long. Maybe we'll have some behind the scenes stuff in the future as I'm thinking out loud. But for now, as we get ready to close out the this awesome episode 101, the inaugural Appreciate the Journey podcast, um, I want to close out with giving the people like how can they connect with and all of our social and all of that. But before we do, it's extremely important to me to always end every show with a segment that I like to call giving the flowers. And I didn't make this up. Obviously, it's like a part of pop culture these days. But I think it's extremely important as you appreciate the journey that you take a moment and appreciate some of the more influential people throughout your journey. So I want to turn it over to you. We don't need a dissertation. Just give me a person or two people if you choose, but a person who you just have to say, here is a rose, a long stem rose. I need to give it to you while you can smell it to tell you how important you've been to me. Who would that person be for you, LL?
Yeah, great question. There's so many people that have been so influential along the way, but I think if I had to give one right now, I would probably say Veronica Deese. She was my first
Ooh.
supervisor, team leader, manager, whatever you want to call her, at my first job out of school. Um,
Wow.
she was just the perfect amount of support. Um, and just push me along the right way. So, I was a young kid. I didn't know anything. Again, I was straight out of school. All I knew was I wanted to make more money because you and I both know we didn't make much money back then.
No.
How do I make more money? I got to be the best at what I do, right? So she really coached and pushed me along the way. She gave me more responsibilities on the team, which helped kind of expand, my knowledge, my skill set. And then when a new role on the new hire training and onboarding team opened up, she really, again, she pushed me in that direction. Maybe she was just trying to get me off her team. I don't know, but she was so supportive and really helped me get that role. And even when I got the new role, I would still constantly stop by her desk, ask her for advice, and she was just the perfect. Perfect is a lot, right? But she was the perfect first manager for me straight out of school.
Wow. I also know Veronica very well as well from that same experience. And she did just want to get you off the team. I'm 100% sure of that. So no, shouts out to Veronica. Man, that's an awesome one. That's a really good one. That's a blast from our past, but she was absolutely one of my favorite people to know as well. Not having the same relationship you did, but just being able to see her leadership from afar. So that's a good one, man.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So your turn. I mean, who would
Yeah.
you give roses to?
So yeah, actually here I'm gonna give this cat. Oh, no, no, all right, I won't do that. That's my wife's little trinket. I don't. She'll kill me if I give it away. Um, if I had to give my roses out, and it's kind of if I could split my bouquet, and these people go together. It's also from our first working experience together. You know, back in those finance days, registered reps and all that. Um, First is Rebecca Taylor, and RT, as I very affectionately call her, was one of the more impactful people in my career. She encouraged me to take a different path in my career, and also was an ally in making that become a reality. I took a internal internship, so I was a sales leader. You know, I was one of the younger leaders in the company, and had a team leader, and had a team of 10, and well, I guess moving up as much as you can move up in that environment. And I wasn't happy. It wasn't fulfilling me. And after having conversations with her, her and I built a friendship. She then kind of talked to me about the opportunity to have an internal internship and join university relations. And that was the beginning of this new version of myself, because I was able to take some skill sets that I had only used in extracurricular activities and use it like in my job, right? I'm a facilitator, I'm a relationship builder, I'm a presenter. That's what I love to do. This was the first time I was getting paid to do that. It wasn't like a project thing or something I was doing on the side. And so I'll be forever grateful for her. I guess I was technically wasn't reporting to her, but maybe a dotted line to her. And this is someone who I had been giving career advice to up to that point. So again, no ego. And for her to take me on and always be an advocate and an ally, even to this day, is something that I'll be forever grateful. So RT, here's your rose, comma, Drew Johnson, same organization. When I came back from university relations, my only opportunity was to go back to the business, which I didn't want to do. Drew led learning and development at the organization and offered me an opportunity to take my talents to training and be an official trainer with the university at our company. That was amazing. I had no experience with it, but she saw everything she needed to see with the opportunity I had, and advocated for me. And not only that, made it so easy for me that I didn't even have to take a pay cut, even though it was technically a demotion in your role, your level. So she just made it super easy for me, and I began to thrive. I don't believe you would have called me those many years later had that experience not happened for me then, because it exposed me to some skill sets that I otherwise didn't have an opportunity to showcase. So, RT, Drew, you ladies deserve your flowers. If I haven't told you before, I think I have, but if I haven't, you are as impressionable to my career as anyone has been, and I'm forever grateful for it.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Maybe you're right. I mean, I did call you because you had the university relations background, you had the learning development background, and you were just damn good with people. So hopefully
What you mean was? Why do you mean
you
was?
are
Like I'm not
you are
still?
damn
Oh, okay.
you are damn good with people, and hopefully this gives everyone out there an idea of, like, our backgrounds, because again, I mentioned at the top I'm an HR guy, but this is kind of where it started. We started out on the phones in customer service, and then I
Yeah.
took this random new hire training onboarding role, which then kind of rolled me into other HR roles in the future. And same thing with you. You did this university relations, learning development. Then I called you 10 years later to do something kind of a mixed hybrid type of role. So yeah, again, it's just such a unique background and
Yeah.
set of experiences that we have.
Jeez, man, and it's cool, and you know, we'll get into this in future episodes, but you know, my most recent role, and as I'm continuing my career, it's in the DEI space. So I've now become a DEI practitioner, something that you know, you and I have talked about way before it was a real thing. So that's kind of cool that it actually turned out that my career went that way. But as a DEI practitioner, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out we just took a moment to give out 3 roses. All 3 roses were leaders who are African American women, the most marginalized demographic in American business today, were 3 of the most impactful or influential people in our careers, right? And we just all took the moment to give them roses. So I just want to shout that out, and really highlight the fact that there are some wonderful leaders out here, especially some wonderful African American women who have impacted both of our lives and our careers, and we still have relationships with them today. So you know, shouts out to them. Shouts out to all that we'll be able to connect and talk to moving forward. Hopefully, we'll get 1 or 2 or 3 of them on the podcast in the future as well. That would be really cool. All right, we're at our time, LL. What we want to do is we want to make sure that whoever's listening, whoever can hear the sound of our voice, knows how to connect with us. So the last order of business for you is to give a rundown, maybe website, connectability on social. Like, how can they find ATJ and plug in and tap into what we're building and what we're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, we're trying to be all over the place, right? So, please remember to like, subscribe, follow us at ATJ the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or check us out at atjcareercoaching.com. Again, whether you're newer to the workforce, looking for your next promotion, looking for some ongoing guidance, or looking for a complete career change, Joe and I would really love to help. So reach out to us,
Absolutely.
atjcareercoaching.com.
Absolutely. And you threw out Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, also LinkedIn. So we can't forget about
LinkedIn, there you
LinkedIn
go.
as a platform as well, but it's very consistent. If you want to find us ATJ, once you start typing it in, the AI will find us, as AI is taking over the world. That's a whole different conversation, Ella. We'll get into that another time. But I want to close us out here. Any final thoughts? You know, we're gonna date ourselves. Any Jerry's final thoughts, like some of the awful TV we probably both watched during our teenage years? How do you want to close us out, man? What's your thought?
Oh man, how do I want to close this out? Great question. Brother, I'm just so glad we're doing this.
Yeah,
It's been such a long journey. It's been some really high highs and some low lows that we've experienced individually and together. But man, I'm so pumped for this. So thank you for doing this, and thank everyone out there that has decided to come join us.
absolutely. Yeah, I reiterate that. Thank you all for being here. Look forward for us to continue to share more. We'll have consistent episodes coming on. So if you plug in and you follow us on any of the social media that LL ran off, you will see the communications as we continue to record more, talk to people, introduce the journey, and really just have a damn good time. So on behalf of my man LL Cool Chin, I'm Joe Drew. This has been Appreciate the Journey, episode 101. More to come soon. We'll see you.